Hi, this is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company. This is Sunday from the Sewing Room. Today I'm going to talk to you about, glorious summer, and going to the farmer's market is one of my favorite things to do in the summer. And I noticed I didn't really have a very decent tote. I don't like to bring home all those plastic bags, and I wanted something that I could just throw my little vegetables and flowers and things like that in, and I didn't care whether I got it dirty or not. So necessity is the mother of all invention. So I created this simple little market tote. It is super, super simple, and I'm going to show you how to make this today. It took me less than a half hour to make this, and I used some pretty inexpensive, durable goods on it. So let me show you how we did that. So 3 simple things went into creating the tote. The first thing that I did was I found this cute little towel that we have at the shop. It's from Tex. It's pretty simple. I wanted something durable that I could just throw into wash. And I thought, well, this is pretty easy. Plus it has this cute little tag that I liked, which brought me to a half yard of the lining. And this is also just another woven from Warp and Weft by Tex. This is a charcoal check. And then because it had that cute little tag on it, I felt like I could get away with black strapping. And this is just 1-inch nylon webbing. And I have 2 pieces here that are 20 inches long. So let me show you how I did this. First of all, I'm going to show you this cute toweling. I will put the link to the toweling in the comments section. I wanted something that was pretty already together so that I could make something quickly. And again, I really liked that it had this cute little tag here, which I felt allowed me to get away with black handles. So all I did was I measured my toweling, and my toweling is a half yard or 18 inches long by 13 inches high. And so when it came to my lining, I wanted to make that lining also a half yard long. So I have 18 inches here, and then I'm just going to cut this so that it is 13 inches high, and this is going to have the fold at the bottom the same as the toweling had. So let me go ahead and quick cut that for you. And I'm going to cut this so that is just 13 inches long. I'll line this up with an edge and give that a quick cut. And then when you are done with this part here, don't throw this away, because I'm going to show you something else that you can do with it. So 13 inches tall, which is the same as the toweling. All right, so now I have my lining and I have my toweling, and they are both the same size. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to, first I'll take the tag off, and then I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine. And because I want this little tag to show, I'm just going to follow the seam that is already here, that they have created with this towel, and I'm going to leave the seam on the outside. I think it kind of looks cute. It's a little different look, and I'm just going to go sew up 2 sides, and I'm going to do the same thing with the lining, and I will show you what that looks like. All right, now I've sewn down the short sides of both my toweling, which is going to be the outside of my bag, and I've sewn it in gray, hopefully that you can see that, and I've stitched all the way down to the edge, and I have stitched so that the finished seam is on the outside, and I kind of like the cool way that looks. And then I've stitched it down the other side following the toweling's finished edge, and I have that little tag sticking out, the one that I liked. Then I've done the same thing on my lining of my bag. So I have stitched a 1/2 inch seam allowance down the side of my bag, taking a back stitch at the top. And I've stitched down this side too, but I stopped part way up and then I sewed to the edge, left about a 4-inch opening, sewed from this edge out and finished the seam, taking a back stitch at the top. So now what I want to do is I want to make a little gusset. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make that gusset on both the outside of the bag as well as the lining. So my outside of my bag, I am going to turn it wrong side out. And I am going to poke out those corners the best I can. And I like this toweling because I think it's going to be nice and durable. I don't care if I get it dirty. I'm just going to toss it in the wash and it'll be good to go. And you see, I never ironed this. I just used the toweling just as it came out of the bag. And that's good for me because it gave me a nice seam line that's kind of already there. So what I want to do is I want to line up the seam that I sewed with that crease in the bottom, just like that. And I'm going to push that seam one way. Now remember which way you push that seam because you're going to want to push that seam the same way on the other side. And I'm going to give this a pin. I am going to pin it right down here. And I'm going to also pin it up here. I like my pins going the opposite directions when I do this so that I make sure that it's pinned well. And then I am going to take a ruler. And I just used my 6.5 inch ruler, and I am going to draw a line that is about 2.5 inches down from where I want to draw my line and then the point. So you can choose to do this bigger or smaller. I kind of wanted a little wider gusset, or a gusset meaning it boxes out the bottom. But I can also see that I'm going to draw right on my pin, so I'm going to move that up just a hair. Want to make sure that seam is flat in there. And I'm going to repin this so that I can draw that line. Okay, so that is nice and flat. And again, I'm going to take this about 2.5 inches down. So this is 1, 2, and a half, about right there. And I'm lining up my 45-degree line with the edge of my toweling, or the outside of my bag. And I'm just going to draw a line. And I am going to do that on both sides of this bag. So there's side one. And then what I am going to do after I draw that is I am going to stitch right on that line. And I'm going to do the very same thing for the lining. So I am going to find, here is the top of the bag. Your lining is already wrong side out, so that's just fine. See that natural crease that came with the fold, and I am going to fold that again to make a gusset. I'm going to pin that, one going this way, and because I like to think that I learned from my mistakes, I'm going to pin this one up a little higher, and I'm going to go this way. I'm going to make the same mark, the 2.5 inches, and I'm going to use this side because you can see that 2.5 inches better. And I am going to use the same angle, and I'm going to draw a line right across there, a nice straight line to make a gusset for my lining. And I'm going to do that on both sides. All right, and then I am going to sew on that line on both sides, and I will show you what that looks like. All right, so now I have my box corners sewn on my bag, or my gussets, whichever you prefer to call it. See, this one has a little crease in there, but that's the lining, so I don't really care. Nobody's going to see that. I won't look in your bag bottom if you don't look in mine. And I have sewn this on this one too. This is the inside of the bag, or the lining. And don't forget, we do have that 4-inch opening on the side, so when we put this together, we're going to be able to turn that bag. And then I have these sewn also on the outside of the bag. So this is on the toweling. As you can see, I sewed right on that line and right on that line. So now if you want to, and I think that I will, I am going to cut these corners off so that there's less bulk inside my bag. And all I'm just going to do is, you can eyeball this, or you can just put it down with your rotary cutter. And I like to leave a 1/2-inch seam inside bags because I like them to have a little more give to them, because there's a lot of pulling and stretching on bags. And then I'm going to cut this side as well. And we are more than halfway done with this bag already. Once we get that cut, I can cut it all. Okay. So now it's going to be time to put your bag together. But you have to put your handles on first. So I like my handles to be about 4 to 6 inches apart. And what is nice is that, I'm going to turn this bag right side out, is that the crease of the toweling has already given me, and here's what your bottom looks like when you turn that bag right side out. There's a nice gusseted bottom. Let me show you the other side. And just like that. So you have a nice boxed corner. And I still think that this seam sticking out looks kind of cute. So now it's time to put my handles on. So I like my handles to be a good 6 inches apart. And what's nice is when I took this toweling out of the bag, I didn't, like I said, I didn't bother to iron on it because I just wanted something quick. And I lay this down, and it looks like these two creases that are already in this are about 6 inches apart. So how lucky for me. So now all I have to do is attach my handles, and I'm going to put them on the inside of that crease, or mark 6 inches apart and put your handles on those mark, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to pin one here, and make sure you pin it down, and then I'm going to pin it around this way. And again, make sure your handle isn't twisted, and I'm going to pin this one down. And then don't forget the other side. So I am going to put my other 20-inch piece of webbing down and pin it. And put this one down. Make sure that the handle isn't twisted. And I'm going to pin it. And if you want to make sure that your handles are even, simply just pop the bag up to the top and line up your seams, and that looks pretty close. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bag and I'm going to put it inside my lining. And I haven't turned my lining right side out because you want everything to go right sides together. So I'm just going to stick this right into the lining. And when I do that, I'm going to do two things. I am going to line up those gussets so that they pop right into place. If you can see that, those are fitting nicely in there. I'm going to line up this outside seam, line up this gusset, so that it goes in there nicely, and line up this outside seam. I want to make sure my handles are tucked down in there. Inside the lining. And yes, your pins will be in there, but don't worry, you have an opening. You're going to be turning your bag right side out. And then again, I want to line up these edges, and I also want to make sure that these seams are all going the same way. So I am going to take this and I am going to pin that seam, and I'm going to pin this way so that it stays in place. And I'm going to go to the other side and make sure that all my seams are going the same way, just like that. And then I am going to pin that into place. And then I am going to take this to my sewing machine, and I am going to sew all the way around the top. But the one thing I do always do is I'm going to take a back stitch over my handles. So don't forget, when you get to your handles, take a back stitch. You may want to go over them a couple times because the handles are where the most stress is on your bag. And I'm going to go to my sewing machine and do that, and then show you how I did that. All right, I've sewn all the way around the top of this bag. The bag was right sides together, and when I got to the handles, I stitched a couple of times back and forth to secure the handles in place. So there's a couple of back stitches there. All of my seams were lined up, and now I've taken my pins out. Don't forget, you have that opening on the side, and you may want to reach inside and take the pins out of your handles before you go and turn your bag right side out so you don't poke yourself. So there's one, and I will get the other one out of here. There's another one. Oops, gotta go the same way. And here's the third. And then here is the fourth one. Okay, and now I am going to turn my bag right side out. So just stick your hand in there, and because this is not really nice, soft, there's really no batting in here to make it heavy to turn, it should turn out pretty easily. I think this is the best part about making a bag. It's kind of like opening a present when you're turning it right side out. And I just keep pushing it through until that bag is right side out. And it will look like this when you get it turned right side out. And then all you simply do is push your lining back in here. And voila, you have a simple little farmer's market tote bag. It was really, really easy. You know, if you want to, you can push this down in here further and take a top stitch all the way around the top, and I'll show you what I did. But remember your opening, and remember I had you stitch out towards the edges. That's because when you look at your opening, it will naturally just pop right into place, and you can either whip stitch this closed, or you can just put it in on your machine and edge stitch it towards the edge. Now let me show you what I was talking about top stitching. This is the one that we started the segment with, and as you can see, I top stitched all the way around that edge. It gave it kind of a nice finished look. So then remember that extra lining fabric that we had? So here's what I did with that. I measured the bottom of my bag, and from here to here it was 5 inches, and from here to here, the long way, it was 12 inches. So I cut this 1 inch bigger. So I cut this 6 by 13, sewed it on 3 sides, and just slid a piece of cardboard in there, just like that. And then you could just pop that right in your bag so that you have a nice stiff bottom. You can choose to do this, or you can choose to just leave it so that it's a soft bottom. Either way, it works out really, really well. So that's it from Sunday from the Sewing Room. This is your little market tote bag made with Benartex toweling and some just simple woven lining and a simple gusseted bottom. Again, I will put the link, if you like the toweling, I'll put the link for the toweling underneath the video. And thank you for joining us from Sunday from the Sewing Room. Bye-bye.